I would love to see President Trump visit Ukraine someday. I am alive. I haven't been killed by a drone yet, right? I haven't been killed by a ballistic missile. I personally want Ukraine to win in this war against Russia. In the fact that the president of your country took time to sit with me in an open air environment at Mariinsky Presidential Palace was very generous of his time. There was some pro-Kremlin account that made up a lie and said I was paid $2 million by the government of Ukraine to come here. I personally would feel like my life was in more danger traveling to Moscow, where they poison people and they're known for like using all these KGB tactics to take out people they don't like, than traveling to Kyiv. I would say it's probably safer to be a Jew in wartime Ukraine than it is to be a Jew on the streets of New York City in America with Mamdani, the jihadist, communist Muslim mayor who hates Jews. They're deliberately targeting civilians. I went to the McDonald's. I was absolutely shocked. Like my jaw hit the floor when I saw like just floors of residential apartment buildings completely bombed. It's not that Americans hate Ukraine or that Americans hate Ukrainian people. It's that, money doesn't grow on trees, and we don't have an endless supply of money to help everybody, even if we may want to. I think everybody in the United States is aware of how brutal the war is. I don't think that anybody is denying how brutal the war is. It's just a matter of striking a balance of how far the United States goes to get involved.
Laura, thank you for having some short time with us. So we are standing right now, I would say next to the massive grave in the center of the city. It's becoming bigger and bigger. From your perspective, Laura, how do you think this war of Russia against Ukraine gonna come to an end, considering the fact that our enemy is so aggressive and unpredictable?
Well, I think that it's a multi-factor approach to ending this war. I think that President Trump is going to have to intervene, just like he's promised to intervene. This was a campaign promise that President Trump made. He said that he was going to personally end the war between Ukraine and Russia. It seems like there has to be a mediator, right? Because these two countries, Russia and Ukraine, they haven't been successful in themselves in ending this war together. And you're right, it seems like Vladimir Putin is the aggressor, more so than President Zelensky. Obviously, Ukraine has to defend itself from all of these ballistic missiles and drones. I've been here for a little over a week, and I've been able to witness it firsthand. And you don't have a way to protect yourself against ballistic missiles because you don't have the Patriot missiles. And so I would say that a lot of the carnage that is, Ukraine is, I wouldn't say like they're on the losing side, but in terms of who has more to lose in the sense of human casualties right now, it would be Ukraine, because you guys desperately need protection from these ballistic missiles that are being fired into residential areas. They're deliberately targeting civilians. I went to the McDonald's. I was absolutely shocked. My jaw hit the floor when I saw just floors of residential apartment buildings completely bombed. It's crazy.
Laura, we all know that American president is watching you. He listens to you. Have you had any conversation with him and phone calls while you're here? Is he worrying about you?
Obviously I'm close with the president, but I'm not a lobbyist, and I'm not here in a lobbyist or a political manner. I'm just here as myself, as a journalist, an independent journalist, Laura Loomer. And so, have to be very careful because I'm not a registered lobbyist. And the issue is that as much as I would like to see Ukraine get access to Patriot missiles to defend themselves, the United States also has a munitions crisis right now. We've also depleted a lot of our own Patriot missiles fighting the war in Iran. And these Patriot missiles take a long time to make. It's 18 months to make these Patriot missiles. They're $3.6 million each, and we don't have an unlimited stockpile. And so obviously the security of our country, right, the United States of America, comes first. And it would be great if there was a way to mass produce these Patriot missiles to make sure that our allies and, countries like Ukraine could get them. But I don't think it's as simple as, is the United States going to give Ukraine Patriot missiles, right? People have to understand that we also have a shortage right now in the United States.
Have you been to the front line? I've heard you've been.
Well, I went to Kharkiv. So, security wouldn't let me go right to the front line. Of course. But in terms of as close as they would be willing to let me get, it was they said 30 miles away from the front line. 30 miles or so?
Yes. What was your impression of visiting the place?
Well, I was in the city, so lots of destruction. It's, again, very jarring and very shocking to see blown out art museums, blown out churches, blown out apartment buildings. Very sad to see, residential areas covered in debris and shrapnel and fragments of missiles, which they gave me some of these fragments to take back with me, and then seeing children's toys littered inside. I mean, look, I think everybody in the United States is aware of how brutal the war is. I don't think that anybody is denying how brutal the war is. It's just a matter of striking a balance of how far the United States goes to get involved, right? We're a country with nearly $40 trillion in debt. And while we have humanity for the people of Ukraine and United States and President Trump would like to see this war ended, I think that, the people of America are tired of footing the bill for every single war, especially when so many of our own citizens are struggling. And we've had inflation and we've had, like I said, $40 trillion in debt. We just got out of Joe Biden's disastrous administration, Bidenflation, a wide open border. We have a lot of poverty in the United States. We have homeless veterans, right? So it's not that Americans hate Ukraine or that Americans hate Ukrainian people. It's that, money doesn't grow on trees and we don't have an endless supply of money to help everybody, even if we may want to. I personally feel it is my personal position that Ukraine should get access to Patriot missiles to defend themselves against Russia. I personally want Ukraine to win in this war against Russia, right? You saw General Kane testifying before the U.S. Senate the other day, said that he wants Ukraine to win, right? And you saw Marco Rubio meeting with Lavrov the other day in the Philippines, and he was mocking the death of U.S. soldiers in Iran, right? When he was asked by reporters why Russia is supplying weapons to Iranians and they're providing satellite images to the Iranians to kill U.S. soldiers. I think it's clear to everybody, or at least it should be, that we would want Ukraine to win this war. But it's just a matter of how this happens.
Laura, my final question. You have millions of people watching you and listening to you, and a lot of them pro-Russian. After you admitted that you were under Russian propaganda influence, are they following you? Are they changing their mind? Can you track this comment?
Well, look, there's some people who are now starting to open their eyes and they say, wow, Laura Loomer has convinced me to also reevaluate some of the information that I've consumed. And I realized that I too was influenced by Russian propaganda. Some people are admitting that. And then there's some people who are viciously attacking me and telling me that, they are very unhappy with me. They're not following anymore. They think I'm sold out. There was some pro-Kremlin account that made up a lie and said I was paid $2 million by the government of Ukraine to come here to, I guess, shill for Ukraine, which is not true. I haven't been paid. The government didn't pay for me to come to Ukraine. I didn't even know that I would be meeting with President Zelenskyy.
You didn't?
No, I didn't.
I watched the interview. It was excellent.
Thank you. He saw me here. And then his office wanted to meet me. So that's how that worked out, because I didn't have that interview planned before coming here.
What was the impression of him? Meeting Ukraine?
Look, I don't know him that well, but I enjoyed meeting him and speaking with him. Obviously, I had a negative impression of him before in the past, right? But he was very kind. He was very generous with his time. Kyiv was under a missile attack just hours before, and the fact that the president of your country took time to sit with me in an open air environment at Mariinsky Presidential Palace was very generous of his time. I know that he's a very busy man and he's a wartime president, and so it's very cordial. And I hope that his meeting with President Trump goes well this week. I hope that we pass the Russia-Iran sanctions bill. I know that President Zelenskyy is going to be attending Senator Graham's funeral. And hopefully we will see an end to this war. Maybe the increased secondary sanctions will apply some serious economic pressure to Russia that will bring them to the table. But I personally also think the negotiators, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, both of whom I know and like very much, should come to Kyiv, right? I didn't come with a government delegation, and you can see here that I am alive. I haven't been killed by a drone yet, right?
Thanks God.
I haven't been killed by a ballistic missile. Thank God, right? I still gotta go back. But I say this because they travel with a lot more security, and I personally would feel like my life was in more danger traveling to Moscow, where they poison people and they're known for using all these KGB tactics to take out people they don't like, than traveling to Kyiv. So I think that they should have some meetings in Kyiv. I would love to see President Trump visit Ukraine someday. And if they're not going to come to Kyiv yet, then maybe they can have a neutral location, because I don't really think meetings should be held in Moscow when they're plotting to murder U.S. soldiers. It's just...
Have you seen there are also some Americans buried here?
I saw them looking right now.
A bit further. You know that Russia is lying about that we are here Nazi. What is your response right now? Well, that's
Well,
the
I
biggest...
just bought this in Ukraine.
Because I
bought this. I just bought this actually right around the corner by the church by my hotel, and a really nice, cute old Ukrainian Orthodox woman sold it to me. So, you know, no Nazis here, and I'm gonna wear it because I really honestly believed it. I thought that you guys had a country full of Nazis because I believe that Azov Battalion. I'd seen the photographs with the Hitler flags and the swastikas, and I was very concerned as a Jewish American about that, but now I realize it's not true. I met Rabbi Osman, whose son died. I'm sure his son probably has a photo here in Maidan, which has, been turned into a giant cemetery. But I've actually seen a lot of Jewish presence here in Ukraine. When I was in Dnipro, I saw the largest Jewish cultural center, which was incredible there too. The largest in the world, like the largest Jewish center in the entire world in Dnipro, tied to the Rebbe. And then the synagogue here, it's incredible. So many Jews. So also I learned while I was in Ukraine that Nazism and anti-Semitism is illegal here. We don't even have laws in the United States that make it illegal. So I would say it's probably safer to be a Jew in wartime Ukraine than it is to be a Jew on the streets of New York City in America with Mamdani, the jihadist, communist Muslim mayor who hates Jews.
I haven't heard anything like that.
Yeah, well, I think so. I think I would be much safer on the streets of Kyiv as a Jew than I would be on the streets of New York City as a Jew.
You probably heard that when General Kellogg was coming to Ukraine, you were joking in Ukraine, we had Kellogg's nights because the Russians were not attacking. When you arrived, I was pretty sure that Russia will stop because Laura Loomer is here because they used to think
they called it the air defense, the Kyiv air defense.
Seriously?
Well, they said, heard this before about Kellogg.
Kellogg, yes, Kyiv air defense.